Hari Om.
If you don't mind, everybody, can you please put your
Hari Om, Mama.
Hari Om, Hari Om. Put your mute पे डाल दीजिए सभी. And when you want to talk, you can. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं. कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्.
आपका साउंड कम आ रहा है.
ओह, साउंड कम आ रहा है. आप मेरी तरफ से फुल है और मैं इसको थोड़ा आगे कर देती हूँ. आप अपना साउंड देखिए.
हाँ, बेटर है.
बेटर है. अच्छा, कमला जी का मेरे को म्यूट करना है.
ओह,
देयर यू गो. या ओके. सो वी आर on verse 6 of chapter 4 in Bhagavad Gita. So today is a pretty heavy duty verse because a lot of different aspects we're going to discuss. In fact, in this one as well as Kathopanishad, very heavy verses we are at, but that's good. It's kind of going hand in hand. So verse 5 we saw that after Arjun had a doubt, when Krishna Bhagavan told him, I had given this knowledge to Lord Sun, and we went through the whole thing, he had a doubt, and then he had a doubt that, hey, you're born now, how did you give that knowledge? Then he told him in verse 5 that I have had many births and you have had many. The only difference is you forget, but I remember. And we went through all the details about that. And now he is going forward and explaining to him how he comes on this earth. We don't say the word how he takes birth, and we will see the technical part of it. We could say just for the language purposes that Bhagwan took birth, but that's why we call it avatar. When a normal human being is born, it's a birth, but for him it's avatar. So we will go through that also. So I'm going to chant the verse. Ajopi sanna vyayatma bhutanamishvaropi san prakrutim swamadhisthaya sambhavamyatma mayaya. Ajaha is unborn. And we will go through this each word, and significance of it in this context. Api is also, son is being, avyaya atma, meaning imperishable nature. Hindi mein word hai na, vyay karna, kharch kar dena, but this is imperishable. Bhutanam, of beings. Ishvaraha, the Lord. And then this word has a lot of significance, the word Ishwar itself. We will see that. Api is also, son is being, Prakritim is nature, Swam, my own, Adhishthaya, ruling over. Jispe adhikar ho mera, like that. Sambhavami, coming into being. Atma Mayaya, by my own Maya. That also is very significant, so we'll go through it. So here what Krishna Bhagavan is telling over here is, he's telling how he comes on this earth. And the next verse in 7, he's going to tell the purpose. But right now, basically, we are on 6. So we're going to focus on how he is born. And what is the difference between Arjun's birth and his birth? And when he says Arjun, means all of us. So the first thing he says is that I am unborn. So because when we talk about unborn, and the same concepts have come in chapter 2. He already talked about that, in chapter 2, but he's just repeating it over here. So we have to see what it means. And to me, the best way is to actually take a worldly example and see if we can understand it. So we take ocean and waves, because this example in this class, everybody is very familiar with this example now. So when we say wave is comes up, stays for a little while, and then subsides again in the ocean. So you can say that a wave was born, is there for a while, and then it's gone, merged back. Ocean doesn't have birth or death. And by the birth and death of wave, ocean doesn't get affected. So now keep that example in mind when he's saying that there is no birth for me, because all of us we rise from that Brahman, and we sustain for a while, and then we merge back again, and then again rise like that. And he's going to explain why he comes and how he comes, but at least we know that for him there is no birth, even though he has no birth, but for such special circumstances he will manifest himself. And then imperishable in nature. So this also we have discussed before. Avyaya is that word. And from the same perspective, ocean and waves. So if you compare wave, you can say wave is of a perishable nature. It's come up and it's gone, but ocean is always there. So from the same perspective, we can say imperishable also. Now the third word is, he says, I am the Ishwar of all beings. So even though we have heard that word Ishwar many times, and we say, okay, Ishwar is God, and there are, Bhagwan, there are so many different words, right? Lord and everything. But here the Ishwar has a special significance. So we have to look at the scientific fact that what Ishwar he's talking about over here. So we have understood that there is Jiva and then there is Ishwar, right? So the essence is the same, because in Jiva also the Atma is there, and then we call it Paramatma, so totality. So when you say space of this room, I have kind of as though divided it, but it's not really divided, right? But when I identify myself with this space, then I say this is a room space, this is my house, and things like that. So Jiva is identifying with one body only. So when we say Jiva, it's a bundle of, like you can say mind, intellect, body, ego, all that's a bundle of it. And he is just identifying with that one, then it becomes a Jiva. But since the Atma is the same, right? That's like space. So when there is that Atma or that consciousness identifies with the totality, then it is called Ishvara. And then they have, in Vedanta, there is a technical words that when physically you identify with the totality, it's called Virat. Okay, then we have Virat Swaroop, jo Arjun ne dekha 11th chapter mein, the physical world, in other words. And then if you identify with the total mind, then it is Hiranyagarbha. And we have discussed that, right? So here Ishwar, he's, it's like a total mind as well as total body, you can say, So basically what it is that when we say God, we have sometimes a confusion, and God is like separate from me or sitting somewhere and all that. But Vedanta, that's not how they look at it. So in other words, everything that we are seeing with our eyes is God only. Because it's just that me, when I feel separate because of my ego, I just identify with this body. But that totality is all together. And I think that this concept, Nikhila Nanji gave it a very nice explanation. He said, take the example of your own body. We know that scientifically there are trillions of cells, right, in our body. Each one has its own function. And then a group of them have their own little function, the cells from the certain different organs and all that. They have different function, but there is a there is a total intelligence of the body also. Does everybody agree that each one is kind of working separately, but working for whom? For totality. So he said that he kind of made it very interesting. He said that if you go ask that one particular cell, hey, what are you doing? They'll say, oh, I'm doing secreting this, or I'm working for, say, my heart. I'm a heart cell. I'm working for heart. So that's good. But even heart, you say, who are you working for, heart? Oh, heart is not working for himself. He's working for the totality. You see the difference? So we in this universe feel, oh, we are separate and things like that, but that's not the truth is not that. The truth is there is some kind of harmony in the totality. And when that totality is the one that is called Ishvara. Okay? So when he's saying, I am the Lord of the all beings, that's what it means. So there is, in my body, there is a bodily intelligence which manages the entire body, in other words. So there's a cosmic intelligence that manages everything, and that is the most powerful thing. And that's why I think this concept is there that, who am I working for? I may not know. It's just like that cell may not know that, it is totality, but the reality is totality. And when the body disintegrates, all the cells are gone. Everything disintegrates. So the power is in that togetherness. And when you take the cosmic togetherness, then it is called Ishwar. Does that make sense? Anybody has any question on this? Because this is getting a little technical, but I think it's pretty scientific if you think about it, Okay. Now then, next is, what is Maya? Because he said that I take the help of the Maya to be born. So we have discussed this also, but I'll just repeat it. Maya is a power of God जो एक को अनेक दिखाता है, So he takes the help of the Maya, and also Maya को प्रकृति भी बोल सकते हैं, the nature. And we know that the nature is made of the 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, and 5 elements. So there are 2 different ways of looking at it, but both are, explaining what Maya is. So the 5 elements also have the 3 gunas. So either you can look at it this way or that way. Both are true, and together only we understand what Maya is. Okay. So I think that those are the basic concepts. But let's see if I forgot.
I have a question. He says, subjugating my prakriti, I come into being by my own Maya.
Mm-hmm.
He subjugates his prakriti.
So you mean what does it mean? Because he's taking up a body, right? When that total intelligence, a cosmic intelligence sees some gadbad happening in the universe or in the cosmos, he takes birth. So he has to take help of his Maya only, to take birth. Because he also takes the body which is made up of 3 gunas. But he's a lord of it. That's the only difference. We feel like we are slave of our body. He's not, because he knows. He does it with the gyan se. So subjugating that just some words they have to use, that using my own Maya, I am taking birth. Does that clear it, Geeta?
Yes, thank you.
Umaji, could we not say because of, how the ordinary birth is taken is because of all the vasanas, etc.?
Yes.
And he is not that,
Yeah.
the Lord is not taking that. Right?
Yes.
That's why there is no birth as such there. That's why it's called avatar, because it's not the same way. Correct.
And I was going to come to that, and that's the absolutely correct point, because the word avatar means the literal translation of in Sanskrit is coming down. Yes. So it's like from his higher nature, he has come down to our
Yes.
level. And that's why it's like, I think I had given that example before also. One of the Swami explained it so beautifully. Ki, it's like somebody has built a factory. Say ये दुनिया बनाई और मैनिफेस्ट की, द राइट वर्ड इज मैनिफेस्टन. उसमें कुछ गड़बड़ हो रहा है तो वो बूट्स पहन के आएगा ना उसको देखने के लिए, बिकॉज ही इज द मालिक है ना वो उसका. So and we will see as we go in this verse that if everybody upholds dharma correctly, because वैसे ना next verse is the most famous verse, यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत. Everybody knows that verse, right? Because serial में भी वो बहुत गाते हैं उसको. So भाई धर्म की जब हानि होती है, what does that mean? धर्म की हानि होना means there is a cosmic law that is going on this earth, and unfortunately humans are the only ones capable of messing up that law. जानवरों को बोला, किसी ने बोला कि अगर ह्यूमंस को एलिमिनेट कर दिया ना इस अर्थ से, स्वर्ग ही होएगा यहाँ पे. बिकॉज जो the animals, they don't break the law. They go by their instincts and there is a balance in them. You know, humans are the ones that are given choice. Hey, and one of the example that this Swami gave was so good. He said, it's like you give a pocket money to your child when he becomes a certain age, right? When you're very little, you don't. When they become a certain age, अच्छा इसको थोड़ी अक्ल आ गई है, he can manage the money himself. So you give him the pocket money. He has a choice now. He can use it for something good or he can do something bad. He can go buy a cigarette or something, you know. He's misusing that. So he's saying that जो भगवान ने हम लोग को free will का power दिया है ना, वो हम लोग जब misuse करते हैं तो उससे धर्म की ग्लानि होती है. Because the whole cosmos is working in like a yagna spirit, you know. And but if that yagna spirit is broken by humans, then all the bad things starts happening, and that's why he has to come. So you know, coming back to that using its own maya, we have this notion that when we talk about avatar, it's only like Ram, Krishna, and the 10 avatars, that those are symbols only. Okay, avatar can come any possible way. It can be a Ansha avatar, or it can be a major avatar, or it can be depending on the need. And that's why a lot of people believe that a lot of saints and sages are also like mini avatars only. Come here to fix something that got messed up. And we have discussed it, that different history में different saints वगैरह आते हैं, and they have different roles to play because they have to fix something that has gone messed up. Because cosmic intelligence is there. And this Swami gave an example of the body. बॉडी में कुछ गड़बड़ होता है तो बॉडी का एक जो इंटेलिजेंस है वो भी वैसे तो कॉस्मिक इंटेलिजेंस से आया है. ओके, दैट वी हैव डिस्कस्ड इट, दैट हाउ फ्रॉम द सन इट ट्रिकल्स डाउन you know, to everybody and all that. We don't need to go back into it, but we scientifically we've hashed it out pretty good. Sometimes things happen in the body, we don't know why it is happening, but the body का जो intelligence है वो कर रहा है वो काम. And even a simple thing like getting a fever. You know, an ordinary person may think that fever is a bad thing, but from the body perspective, it's necessary because they have to kill the germs. Everybody knows that, right? That in that high heat, you know, germs get killed, but there is a balance had to be maintained. If it goes very high, then it can kill the person. That's why we take all this Tylenol, ये वो करते हैं हम लोग. But as far as body is concerned, it's like a mini avatar happening there. You know, that, hey, or the white blood cells start acting up. You know, that because they have to come and fight. So we may not understand it completely, but there is a totality of the body, that the intelligence of the body is concerned about the entire body, and it will do everything possible to keep it alive. You know, but we are the one who keep doing, you know, negative stuff. And, you know, many times we destroy our own body by bad environment, eating bad or whatever, thinking bad and all that, you know. But same way, in the cosmic way, the avatars can happen so many different ways. Some of them we may not even know about it or may not comprehend about it. Some saints go as far as saying that all these natural disasters that take place, from our perspective, it looks horrible because people die, this, that. But from the cosmic intelligence purposes, it was necessary to do something for recreation or something. I was just thinking about the California fires. On one hand, it looks so horrible, but that after the fires, the nature takes over, new plants are born and things like that. So if the jungle has gone totally dry, then it has to go because it is not doing as useful job. So we have to shift our perspective to the higher self. And even this pandemic, I know that a lot of people are dying, and it's really, if we look at it from a lower perspective, we get really disturbed, upset, and all that. From the higher perspective, we have discussed in the class, there's so much plundering happened on the earth. So much greed and this thing, destroying the atmosphere, destroying the animal, killing them the most mercilessly. If you cannot give life to animal, why you want to kill them? So it's like, from the cosmic level, there may be a reason why cleansing is happening or something like that. We have to kind of raise our bar a little bit to see. I'm not saying don't do something and don't have the vaccine, but do all those things. Nobody's saying no, that is our dharma to do. But from a cosmic perspective, a cosmic intelligence kicks in to create the balance. And even in this universe, the stars are formed and stars are destroyed. If somebody looks at just superficially, will say, my God, there's so much violence going on. But it is that same birth, maintenance, and destruction. Shiva ki Shakti bhi has to work. So that's why we don't say Shiva is a destroyer. We call it annihilator. Or somebody destroying to recreate. So that kind of vision we have to have when we are doing this Bhagavad Gita. So, does everybody kind of get this picture about, avatar? Because we get stuck with the avatar, like one of the Swami was saying, it's not always goody-goody. It's not like little baby Krishna is born and that's only avatar. Avatar can be Narsimha also, who came, just for a purpose. Prahlad ko, everybody knows Narsimha's story, right? Prahlad was the one whose father was trying to kill him. And then he said, hey, where is your God? Is it in this khamba mein, in this pole? And then he came out. The purpose he came out because usko boon mila hua tha ki wo aise nahi mar sakta, waise nahi mar sakta, insaan nisse nahi mar sakta, janwar se nahi. So it came as a half man, half lion. So those are all the Puranic stories that give us, clarify the concept. And that's why in the Dashavatar you have Kurma and you have Varavatar and you have Vaman, all those, depending on the need, it can come. So it doesn't have to be goody-goody avatar. It can take a pretty fierce form also to create the balance. And that also is called the avatar. So, any question about this?
I had some question about Meena ji, what she was explaining. I couldn't understand very well.
Yeah. So I think that what she was saying is that we are also born and Bhagwan also comes on this earth, जिसको हम अवतार बोलते हैं, right? So जो हम आते हैं ना, वो we are kind of pushed into this world because of our impression and karmas. We don't have that free will. Okay? And we are trying to get there where we are trying to finish all our impressions and clean our slate. Then somebody can merge with that Brahman and come as avatar. But until that happens, our birth and the avatar में difference वो बता रही थी. And that also is part of these two this verse and the next verse, that Bhagwan actually has a control over his birth. He does it with a complete free will, making the Maya, using his Maya, whereas we are slaves of it. And Swamiji explains it by giving an example of like you owning the car versus your driver driving the car. What is the difference? So that's what she was talking about. Does that make it clear? That was part of this also, so I'm glad that we clarified that. Any other question? Okay, so we can read. Who would like to volunteer today to read?
I can read.
Sure, Kamlaji. हाँ, Kamlaji, पढ़िए.
Here is the most daring and
One
original
second,
thought of-
Kamlaji,
Oh, sorry.
read the
Yeah.
English translation.
Yes. Though I am unborn and am of imperishable nature, and though I am the Lord of all beings, yet ruling over my own nature, I take birth by my own Maya. Here is the most daring and original thought of Vyasa, we may say, throughout the entire Gita. The Supreme, on account of his unquestioned freedom, by his own perfectly free will, takes upon himself the conditioning of matter and manifests himself in a particular embodiment in the world in order to serve the deluded generation of that time. To the Lord, his ignorance is but a pause assumed, not a fact lived. A mortal becomes victimized by his avidya, while the Lord is master of his maya. A driver is bound by his duty to the vehicle, while the owner of the vehicle is the Lord of it. He uses the vehicle for his purposes, and whenever he reaches his immediate destination, he leaves the vehicle with all freedom and enjoys his own independent activities. But the poor driver, bound to the vehicle, will have to guard it against intruders and serve the vehicle as the servant. The Lord uses the matter and envelopments and their limitations as a convenience and a set of unnecessary tools in his game of protecting the creation.
Set of necessary tools hai, not unnecessary.
Oh.
Right? आपकी भी book में
Yeah,
necessary.
necessary.
हाँ. So here is that Geeta ji's question, that if he wants to come to this factory, he has to wear appropriate attire, not to come, to fix it. That's why he makes Maya, takes use of a Maya. Invisibly तो वो काम नहीं कर सकते हैं, because sometimes he has to, वो धर्म की स्थापना के लिए आए हैं, right? तो उनको हमको सिखाना पड़ेगा, example से और वगैरह वगैरह. There are many different ways. Like कृष्ण भगवान, they say कि उन्होंने वो पहाड़ उठाया था, right? गोवर्धन पर्वत. One of the Swamis explained it so well. उन्होंने सबसे बड़ा पहाड़ उठाया था, धर्म को स्थापना का पहाड़ उठाया था उन्होंने. I mean, imagine the analogy, that इतना बड़ा responsibility he took. So he has to, he has to be among the Gwalas, he has to be among those people, and then so many demons he killed, and by his own example. और राम भगवान को तो आदर्श पुरुष भी इसीलिए कहते हैं कि because they say कि अगर कोई भी रिश्ता निभाना हो इस दुनिया में तो राम भगवान को देखो कैसे निभाया उन्होंने. So because that's why these are like Purna avatars. They come for a very long time and they establish dharma. And others, as I told you, like Narsimha and Vara and all that, they come for a specific purpose. Very quickly they are gone. They don't kind of hang around there. But that's why he has to make use of his Maya and wear these clothes and come off these panchakosha, like you can call it. But he's not attached to it. And for him, it's just like a dress. Apne ko to, when we were born and when we grew up, then we started asking this question, no, मैं कौन हूँ, कहाँ से आई हूँ? हम लोग पैदा हुए तब तो हम लोग को थोड़ी मालूम है. Now we are questioning it, but in his case, it's not like that. From the very beginning to the end, he's totally aware of everything. That's the difference. I know it's a little bit hard concept, but not so hard also. When you contemplate, you can get it.
But isn't that what he's saying in the beginning? Ruling over my own nature. I take birth by my own Maya.
Correct. So the word is used, my own Maya. He has used that word, मेरी है वो माया. जो पावर तो जैसे कि हम हैं और हमारे में जो टैलेंट्स वगैरह हैं वो हमारी पावर हो गए ना, on a smaller scale. It's come from higher only, but it is under my control. So true. He's talking about that totality now, you know. So he has used the correct words also, that it is his own Maya.
Thus, though the Lord is unborn and changeless in his nature, and even ever a Lord of matter, yet keeping his Maya perfectly under his own control, he comes into the world through his own free will. All the time he is fully conscious of his own divine status and unchallenged prerogative. He does not come into being as others do, compelled by his past karma to live here in the world under the treadledom of nature. He is not bound by his mental temperaments, but he is ever free from the mischief of his own Maya.
Very beautifully Swami ji explained, ना, because हम लोग को माया मिस्चिफ लगती है, बिकॉज तभी तो ऐसे बोलते हैं इंडिया में, ओ ये सब माया है और माया की वजह से ये होता है माया, तो हम लोग वी फील ऑलमोस्ट लाइक अ स्लेव टू इट, बट यू नो ही इज नॉट. एंड व्हाट द होल purpose of the spiritual journey is that from slave we become master also. That's why you start with, you know, your own mind. Don't become the slave of your own mind. That's why there is a very famous quote of Swamiji that, you know, freedom is not to do what you feel like doing. Right? And this is हमारे चिन्मय मिशन में मीना जी and सुशील जी ने वो सबसे पहले ऊपर लिखा हुआ है ये, because this is a you know, if you just read about it, it gets very confusing. Because हम लोग का लगता है freedom means ओ कुछ भी करो उसको freedom बोलते हैं. But no, but according to Vedanta, you are the slave of your mind, and that is the biggest gulami. You can be, and we can say we are so free in this country, I'm a free person and all, but as long as we are gulam of our mind, we are not free, you know. So that's the difference over here, that, you know, we get totally, you know, helpless is the word. You know, oh, you know, Maya is having us do all these things, and he is the master of it. He is using it to do something good. We use it for bad things. You know, so just like that example of the child, कि उसको थोड़ा सा power दिया, कि उसको थोड़ा pocket money दिया, he can use it for good. So you can use a Maya for good stuff also, definitely. But if we don't, then we are like that spoiled child who may misuses, and then the parent has to come and fix things. You know, वो लोग सब गड़बड़ करते हैं. Then so same way we as humans we do all kinds of nasty things, make a mess on the earth. Then he has to take avatar to come and fix it. So even from the worldly perspective, this example jives very good. You know.
You ask your servant to take your heavy motorcycle to the nearby garage to refuel it. If you watch him doing it, you will have some idea of what the Lord is trying to express here. To that poor man, the unwieldy machine is a calamity, a suffering. To push it across the road is a risky adventure for him, because the machine, by its own weight, guides him, he being powerless to assert his mastery over it. On the other hand, if you yourself were to ride or push the motorcycle, you can joyously and easily do so. The vehicle remaining the same, in your hands it becomes a slave to carry you, while the poor servant was being dragged by the clumsy weight of the heavy machine.
So you saw the example that, you know, मालिक होना और उसका खाली नौकर होने का क्या फर्क है. Not every example is perfect example, because we are talking about something very subtle, but it just gives a little indication, you know, that what it feels like to be a slave of our own body, that we are weighed down by it, and, you know, we cannot feel the freedom and mastery over it, बिकॉज जो मालिक होता है उसको तो एंड ही हैज अ कैपेसिटी, एक अगर गाड़ी खराब हुई दूसरी भी ले लेगा वो, तो ड्राइवर कैन नॉट डू दैट. उसको फिर दूसरी नौकरी ढूंढनी पड़ेगी स्लेव होने के लिए. दैट यू कैन स्ट्रेच दिस एग्जाम्पल that when about reincarnation also, that the freedom versus being pushed into it.
Can you explain a little bit more? Because is it the mind that is doing it? Is the intellect that's doing it? What are we talking about? I'm confused a little bit. So,
Okay, exactly. You mean you are confused about this example?
yeah, just the
So
example.
this example is telling you the concept of how God takes birth as an avatar. Not even, we can't call it birth. I already told you that that's the wrong word to use. God comes on this earth as an avatar versus we are born. What is the difference? When we are born, we feel slave to the Maya or the body or the world. We are persecuted by it. Whereas Bhagwan is a master of it. It does not bother him at all.
Right.
Because he has a capability of doing whatever. If he doesn't like the car, he can go sell the car, buy another one, and employ somebody to run it and all that. He's a master of it. So वो भगवान को समझ लो मालिक. और ड्राइवर, अगर हम, if we are not self-realized, then we are like the driver.
Driver of our own body.
Yes.
Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
driver
Okay.
meaning the driver who's been employed.
Driver. So it's the mind taking over the body. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I
Because-
mean, technically, you have to view this from a little higher up now.
Okay.
That Maya consists of the entire thing, by body, mind, intellect, ego, everything. True.
Yes.
So
Okay.
and what, when Bhagwan is talking about that avatar, is transcendental state. He is beyond all this. Whereas
Yes.
we are in it and we feel this is it.
Okay.
So what you maybe what you are if you try to see it from mind and intellect perspective, you might still have some problem. Relating
I
to
was
the
trying
example.
to put it into myself.
Yeah.
Okay,
So ourself, we know.
What is the driver? What is the, who is driving and who is the machine in there? Because that way, I can, because it's all for myself. It's all for your spiritual.
True.
So that's what I want to see in myself.
Okay, so from if you want to see from our own perspective, that's a good question. So we can say that क्योंकि हमारे मन में वो 6 विकार भरे हुए हैं ना, काम, क्रोध, लोभ, मोह, मद, मात्सर्य, हाँ, तो उसकी वजह से हम लोग स्लेव हैं. अगर वो हमारा क्लीन हो गया ना, so वो ट्रांसपेरेंट हो जाएगा. Then we won't be slave. And that's why all these people who are self-realized, nothing phases them. Right? उनको कुछ बीमारी हो जाए, संसार में कुछ गड़बड़ चल रहा हो, they will do something about it. I'm not saying don't do, but they don't get weighed down by it. Oh my God, end of this world, क्या होगा, ये है, वो है. It doesn't, because they know it's just a play.
So I am a slave of my mind. Is that correct?
Yes, until we get totally self-realized to that extent, we are slave, 100%.
Right.
Yeah. तभी तो उसको liberation भी बोलते हैं ना.
Right. I mean,
huh?
liberation's through that. But it's just I'm trying to take the example and apply it to myself.
Yeah, so ourselves, true. The only way we will not become a slave is when we completely, remove all the impurities of our mind. And then that way you're like Jivan Mukta. And then when you drop the body, everything is clean. So you merge back, and then you will come as avatar then.
Yeah, the overall was okay, but it was the example, and then applying to myself, that I was getting a little bit confused for it.
Did this clear it up a little bit?
Somewhat, yes, and I still have to think about it.
Yeah, think about it. These are, that's why I always say.
I can give an example.
Sure.
Okay.
That a stage can come in your life, anybody's life, that the universal mind takes over. In other words, your emotional brain and your logical brain disappears. And you get connected to the emotional mind. And when you get in that mode, you don't do anything yourself. The universe takes you to do whatever is destined for you. And in that stage, you're working as if you are working whatever it is that you are not doing yourself is being done for you. So that
You have that feeling? You have that feeling that it's being done?
Yeah, I had for a few months. Well, actually a few years. So in that case, I didn't decide anything. I didn't do anything. The universe was working with you to make you do things.
Okay.
And it happens. And then, everything comes to you. Because the space that is there from which it is coming includes your logical and emotional brain or your knowledge. Everything is included in that. But out of that, which one to pick and what make you do comes from, not from you.
So am I blocking myself? Is that what it is? Is there I am blocking myself?
Yeah, let's say you take an experiment and don't let it happen. Let's put it this way. So you would think, if you let it happen, nothing will happen. No. Once the universal mind takes over, it makes you do things the way you're supposed to do. I know it's very hard to, but I have traveled to India, gave a talk on 33-bit microprocessor, answered all the questions without having any idea what I was doing. And if I tell somebody, they wouldn't believe that. But that's the way it works. I never had a clock with me. I never wore a watch before the iPhones. And I had all my meetings everywhere I went. And the clock comes from to you, When you get up, when you walk, when you go, when I go to the beach, who you meet, all that comes to you. So it's very hard to explain, but that's one state one can have. And only unless you have that state, you cannot describe it.
Okay.
So, Umaji and Joe, would I be right in saying that sometimes your intuition makes you do certain things? Would that be also in the same light?
Yeah, that is one of the things. But these things really, like on Karwa Chauth, we wanted to go to see the moon on the hill in Lahaya, and I told Nina Satyan will be there. And then when we went there, only one guy was standing there, which was Satyan.
So intuition, yes, but intuition, when it starts happening, you will kind of know it. And like when we were talking about,
it comes out of you without your knowing.
Exactly. What I was going to say is that sometimes we remember last class we discussed, we think that कोई miracle हो गया, ये हो गया, वो हो गया, but साधु संत जो एडवांस साधु संत है बोलेंगे संसार में ऐसा कुछ मिरेकल जैसी चीज नहीं है. Okay, everything goes by law and intelligence and all those things only. If you don't understand it, you call it miracle, but everything goes according to that cosmic intelligence. And here I think that if you're getting confused about some concept over here, don't worry about it, because a lot of explanation is going to continue. So as long as you understand the broad outline that this is avatar and then why we are born, and our journey is to become like that, to go towards that.
And Krishna is special avatar, which is not
Purna avatar.
Other avatars.
Yeah, because I told you that there are mini avatars also, and there are ferocious avatars.
God avatar.
I'm
it's
sorry?
like 100%.
This is called Purna avatar, true?
Purna avatar.
Yeah, and that's why he did such.
So he manifests himself. He wasn't born.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so Maya is under his control. He wasn't controlled by Maya and came out. So that's a big difference.
Yeah. So these are the broad things that you pick up from this, and then you contemplate, and as we go further deep into Bhagavad Gita, then you will get. And then another thing I want to tell you about Bhagavad Gita.
And Vivekananda and Sharda Ma, they were triple avatars. They were like joint. Like whatever Ramakrishna had spread by Vivekananda, and then Sharda Ma carried it through, who was Kali's avatar. So, but they were like portion of avatar. Same way, Ram, and I think Ram was not Purna avatar also. He had help. Krishna never had any help from anybody.
You can say that, and there is another way that he also had a lot of help. You cannot say he didn't, because his brother Balram was actually Sheshnag. Okay, so when the avatars come, they come with their full force. It's something like, hey, if this if there is a big factory and somebody has to fix it, वो अपना tools वूल्स भी लेके आएगा कि नहीं fix करने के लिए? He can, तो उसका पूरी सृष्टि उसकी सहायक बन जाती है फिर. Okay, so in fact कृष्ण भगवान तो बोलते कि जो गोपीज थे ना जितने भी, वो और कोई नहीं थे, ऋषि मुनि थे. Were born as gopis. I don't know if you have heard that concept.
The talk somebody sent from Sadhguru on Krishna was excellent because it explained the three-dimensional nature of Krishna, which is, we say normally if you follow Christ, you cannot become Christ because there is only one Christ, unique path. Same way, one Buddha. So, but Krishna is somebody who gives you everything. And you can move in any direction and you find it's available to you. So it's a multi-dimensional avatar.
So when you said Jesus called his son of God. He's called the messenger. He always says Father in heaven. He's referring to the,
right.
One of the saint told us that how this avatar concept जो है ना, ये हमारे शास्त्रों के द्वारा इसको explain किया गया है. बाकी religions